gia và cái lực lao động phải đi làm, phải dùng cái học của mình đó, yêu cho nó là you learn and then you serve for the country, you serve for your people, help people.
My name is Kevin Vong, or Kevin Vuong. My Vietnamese name is Caiven, and I am the first in my family to be born and raised here in Canada. My parents were boat people.
My name is Huy Nguyen. I'm originally from Vietnam. I'm approximately 51 years old. I've been here in Canada since 1981.
And I'm Naomi. I am 21 years old, Canadian resident, born here.
My name is Sheena. I'm 19 years old. I grew up in the neighborhood of Parkdale, which was in Toronto.
So my name is Albert. I'm born and raised in Ottawa, but my family was born in Vietnam and they immigrated to Montreal.
I didn't say the North is bad, but the history, the truth is the truth. No nothing. How can you survive without the money? Everything collapsed. So we have no choice. We have to try to escape from Vietnam to another country. That's the story. We are the boat people. And we don't know what country we're going to go. Just need the freedom to left, escape.
Okay.
We're not decide because nobody know on that time. Nobody know.
Following the war, my parents are actually of Chinese descent, so they're part of the Chinese diaspora in Vietnam. And my understanding is, following the war, the Chinese business class in particular, which my father belonged to, was persecuted.
He thought, I think the impression was that if you leave Vietnam, that's like you're done, you're ready, like you've escaped. But really that's when you realize like refugee camp is a whole other like political hurdle on its own, because you have to deal with all the paperwork. These UN, I think they were UN funded refugee camps, were not funded enough, so like there was really bad, like it was just very poor quality of life in the refugee camps. And I think the camp that one of the camps he ended up staying at had more people commit suicide on the island than people who actually passed away from escaping.
Vietnam, whatever the reason might have been, right? Maybe they were being persecuted, or maybe they escaped because they did not believe in the values of now the communist state, or maybe they left for economic reasons. Whatever it might be, they all left during a certain time frame, and they all I think everyone that I've met describes themselves as of the boat people, right? So rather than fragmenting one another or dividing one another based on who they were prior to, I would say there's a solidarity and unity in the fact that they are all boat people. Yeah, I don't describe myself via the hyphenation. I describe myself instead as a Canadian with Vietnamese and Chinese heritage.
Okay.
It's a clear distinction for me because I was the first of my family to be born and raised here. I am Canadian with a Vietnamese last name, with a Vietnamese heritage, raised with Vietnamese culture, but alongside Canadian culture, right? And so that's why I don't believe the hyphenation is something that reflects my identity.
Rarely, I don't ever think I've heard my parents complain about racism, but at the same time it's one of those things where their generation worked hard to survive, to make our lives easier and hard to, so they said their bar was so low, like their bar was to survive, so that our bar was a little higher where it's like we can be part of Canadian culture. So now that for them their struggles was not assimilation, their struggle was to live. So that's why they don't complain about racism or anything like that. Whereas our generation, yeah, sure, some people may complain that, oh, you guys are being like wusses because you're complaining about racism when I have to worry about like feeding myself. But at the same time, like that, you worked hard so that we wouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. So that you moved the bar up for us so that we can move the bar up even farther. So that we're not starting at point 0 when we grow up, we're starting at point 10 already.